Driving down a long highway in New Mexico. Reservations all around me, how is it so? The white man stole this land from the Indian to form a democracy. Driving down a long highway in New Mexico. Reservations all around me, how is it so? The white man stole this land from the Indian to form a democracy. Though my driver's arms are burning, I have a farmer's tan. Shirtless, my skin is reflecting like grass under a stone. These motor homes are giant, they're like a ship on the road. Drivers are old and retired. Stopped under a shade tree, a bird is singing. Though I wish that I could fly, he is dreaming that his arms were not tied behind his back in the form of wings. He wants to walk for the rest of his days. Alright, that was a song called The White Man Stole This Land. Welcome to episode 21 of the Fast Heart Mart co-video podcast. I am your host, Fast Heart Mart. If you want to know why I'm called Fast Heart Mart, just look it up. Yeah, that's a controversial song to say the least. I wrote it back, I think, 2004. I was living in New Mexico at the time. I lived in New Mexico for about 12 years, and I was based in Albuquerque, and I loved it there. I miss it all the time. Shout out to Albuquerque and all of New Mexico. But I've always been interested in the indigenous cultures of North America, Native American tribes or First Nation, the Indians. I'm not sure how to say it, but I'd like to say it the most respectfully as I can, because I do respect that culture. I've always been fascinated by those cultures, those tribes, those nations. I've always thought it was interesting how they could live in harmony with the land, and how the culture that I predominantly come from does not. We actually destroy everything, and we don't live in harmony with it. And so as a teenager and as a young boy, actually, I had always thought that was fascinating, how the indigenous cultures of this continent lived in harmony with nature. And I think indigenous cultures all over the world, obviously, that's what they do. Even the white people come from indigenous cultures at some time, and they evolved out of it. So I guess I've always had some kind of guilt associated with the fact that the United States of America, which apparently is supposed to be a democracy, it's a big conundrum or an oxymoron that it was built upon basically a genocide of a whole race of people that used to live here before the democracy was created. And so I've always found that to be a conundrum or a paradox, even though I also have a lot of reverence for the United States of America. And so I've never been able to really balance the two in my mind. I guess until the last 5 or 10 years, when I started to really research even more into the indigenous cultures of this continent. And this is where I'm going to be very respectful, and I'm tippy-toeing, because as a white person, even though I have indigenous ancestry in my blood, it doesn't show, and so nobody can tell, and I guess maybe it doesn't matter. But apparently my great-grandmother, my great-grandmother was a full-blooded Cherokee Indian. And my dad, you can actually see it a lot in him. He's very dark, and like in the summertime, it gets really dark. And so he's always been very proud of that heritage in our family as well. And I think a lot of people in this country actually probably have heritage, some kind of mixed with the American Indian culture, the indigenous tribes of this continent. And so the more I looked into it, and I've always known this, that all the tribes and the nations, they were kind of warring with each other. I mean, not constantly, and there was definitely truths between tribes, and it was an ebb and flow, though. Just like every other culture around the world, they had to work out land rights and things like that. And if they couldn't figure it out, they would go to war, and they would kill each other and take each other as slaves. And so the way I look at it now is it's a lesson for us all, because I do believe history repeats itself. If the so-called American Indians could have united against the Europeans or the white man and said, hey, we got to all come together as nations and tribes because the white man is coming to take over. If they could have united, I think they could have probably held them off. I mean, except for the fact that the Europeans brought all the influenza and all the germs and stuff. I still think they would have had a good chance, and it would have been it would have been really good if they tried, at least. But I think the tribes of this continent were warring so much amongst themselves that they had a hard time uniting against the Europeans. And so I think it's a history lesson for all of us, especially right now. We need to all unite, because there is a nefarious force in the world that is coming for us, I think. And if we don't unite against it, it's going to get us, and it's going to devastate us, just like the Europeans devastated the American Indians and the indigenous cultures of this continent. And so that's how I see this song now. Sometimes this is a very controversial song, this song, White Man Stole This Land. And it's hard to sing it sometimes. I feel embarrassed to sing it. Like, why am I even going to put this out there? But I think if one thing from these times that we can take away is that we are a big family. We're a one human race, and we're having this conversation. We're being forced to talk about this elephant in the room. And here I am exposing myself once again on this podcast. I'm hoping for the benefit of the human race, because we have to talk about this stuff, and we have to get to the bottom of this, and we have to unify, or else if we don't unify, something's going to come along and just destroy us and take us out. And I think it's good that we talk about things and we find some peace and truth in it. And I think that's all I'm going to say about this subject for now. And the joke of the day, moving into the joke of the day, I think I'm just going to move to the joke of the day is going to be reasons why I'm going to quit this podcast, because I always feel like quitting this thing. Why am I going to quit the podcast this week? Because I'm talking about controversial subject of the Europeans versus the indigenous cultures of North America. This is not fun. It's not easy, but I think it's necessary. So, haha, thanks for laughing, I guess. But, yeah, that's going to be the on-running joke with this podcast, I think. If I'm moving forward, Bill Hicks used to do that. He always used to say, this is going to be my last show. And he would always joke that was his last show. And I think it's great. And this is going to be my last podcast. This will be the last episode, because it's too controversial. I don't want to talk about these subjects. I just want to sing about them, maybe. But I don't know. I feel compelled. I keep getting the spirit to keep going and keep going with this thing. I hope I don't lose people. I really don't. I don't want to lose people on this thing. I want I want people to come in and talk and feel safe about talking about anything. Really, I believe in talking about anything. That's where I stand on things. And anyway, thanks for listening. This podcast is brought to you by all my Patreon patrons on Patreon. Thank you so much. All the people who tip me through Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. Buy merchandise at fastheartmart.com. And thanks again for listening. Listen to Fast Heart Mart on Spotify and all your favorite sites. Until the next episode, peace, good health, everybody. Stay safe. It sounds like a cliche. I don't know what else to say. Just everybody hold on to something, and keep looking for that light at the end of this tunnel. It's crazy. I find it crazy. I think a lot of people find it crazy. The Corona coaster is going on and on. So peace out. Till next time, everybody.